All right, everybody, welcome to the Service MVP podcast. And my name is Joe Crisara, America's service sales coach. And today we have an exciting guest, Mr. Mike Busher, who is our pricing specialist. Mike has worked with a lot of companies doing things like getting their Service Titan pricing set up and House Call Pro. And he's had a lot of experience with this. So Mike, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Obviously, we get to talk quite a bit, so I feel very fortunate that I get to spend as much time with you as I do, Joe. Always learning something.
Right? We're always learning something. And this is a heavy-duty subject. Mike, this is what's going to be called pricing for profit. We're going to talk about how you get the pricing right so you can make the profit right. Mike, let's get right into it. And I know every single week Service MVP does meetings called the pricing meeting. Mike, what is the purpose of those pricing meetings? What is the reason why Service MVP runs those meetings?
First, any coaching client that we have or any clients in general that come to us, we want to make sure that they are priced appropriately, not just for the owners to make money, but for the profit and for really the scalable growth of their business. Without those things, it's, as you know, Joe, you've struggled in the past over the years, 20 plus years ago. It continually can knock you down and just hurt your confidence if you don't see your business growing every week financially.
It is, and I think what pays the price on that is employees who can't get. There's no increase in pay, and the earnings become flat. The investor of the company doesn't get any money out of it. The vendors start to get slow payment, and really everybody pays the price as the cost of doing business is increasing, but the ability to keep up with that cost of doing business is important. So Mike, how important, let's talk about profit first. So the three subjects we're going to talk about, number one is profit, and then the pricing, and then the service and warranty and how that can also add to the profit. That's going to be the three subjects we're going to talk about. So Mike, let's talk about profit for a second. How much profit should a company make to be able to achieve sustainable growth? Could you share that with us?
Yeah, I mean, to achieve sustainable growth, they can't have anything less than 25% profit at the end of the day. And like you mentioned earlier, being able to have the right employee culture by not having turnover. You got to pay your employees properly. You got to have a way to increase, having the right vehicles, all those different things that go into running the business behind the scenes. It's not just about going out there in the field and running a call. We have to have all these other factors looked at, right? There's a way we break down on those meetings, how we can look at the percentage for this, and it all equals up to that minimum number has to be 25%.
So Mike, what are the reasons why that 25%? How do you figure, like, if you look at what are the things that can happen that make that 25%, so important? And, a lot of people make a profit like 10% or 5%, and then they look at their bank account and the money they have in the account doesn't reflect the profit. Can you share, like, what happens to that money and why is it so important we get to that 25%? Like, what happens to the first 5%, Mike?
I would say the first 5% is really what I would consider, and what you've brought up over the years, is control or uncontrolled chaos, right? There's things that we don't know that are going to happen on a daily basis with our technicians, with someone, getting into an accident, having a fender bender, right? Different things like that can happen. Somebody gets hurt on the job. I mean, all those different things take money and time away from that overall profit.
Yeah, and nobody ever figures that into the budget. Accidents, falling to a ceiling, injuries, increase in workman's comp because of that kind of thing. You just don't figure. It could be so as much as 5% of that. Like, what's the next 5% that is lost with that? When you have to kind of reinvest that profit, what else? What's the next 5%?
The next 5% I would say would be, I don't know if you'd say it's controlled, but costs that are going to be there, but things can change from time to time, like new products coming out. There's new things that we have to spend money on each year for new equipment. Sometimes, hey, we didn't have this last year because it wasn't available. Now we've got to put more money into this so we can provide better service, but it costs us money up front.
So there's things that wear out, like the tires on a truck. You got to get new uniforms, just things that we've got to replace that are constantly kind of wearing out, right?
Correct. Correct.
Mike, what about the third 5%? What's another thing that kind of steals profit from a company?
Well, again, I'd say those things you didn't know you needed. Also, there's that things that you knew you needed. Hey, we need new uniforms every year for the guys. We need new training facilities, right? We know we're growing, we have to make sure we have enough space for everybody. Those are things we know we need, so we've got to be able to cover that cost and plan ahead for that scalable growth.
And then there's finally the fourth one, which I say is that emerging technology, things that are solutions are not yet invented. Mike, could you talk a little bit about that? Some of those things that come up and arise to kind of bite us?
Yeah, it could be those capital improvements. It could be things that, like I said earlier, with equipment that we need, facilities. There's always something that we know we're trying to do a better job and provide. May it be, hey, we never offered a 401k to our employees before. Now we've got to find a way that we need to offer this and fund it to our employees so we have better retention of those employees.
So new solutions coming up, like Chirp, or even Service MVP is a new solution that people may not have been aware of.
For sure.
That they start taking that stuff on, right? So Mike, so we need that 20%. So it's not until we hit that 20% where the owner can actually start stacking dollars, right? And I guess the only thing that limits us, I've noticed that when we teach our stuff, the only thing that limits us from making that 20% is our ability to communicate value at that price, right, Mike? Is that the heart of Service MVP? Tell us a little bit more about the ability
Absolutely.
to communicate value, because raising the price is one thing, but being able to sell it for that higher price. What about that, Mike? Have you seen companies that have raised the price, but the people did not have the ability to sell at that price?
I've worked for those companies, Joe. I've worked for a couple of those companies over the years. And yes, it is that opportunity where everybody thinks just because you raise the price and we've made adjustments to the price book that, hey, we're going to automatically make more money. That's not the case if you don't have technicians that are trained properly to convey the message and communicate to the customer the value of what they're paying for. It's not just about the number, right? It's what they're paying for is value. And that is where that last 5% is going to be there for the owner to take that kind of profit. But they have to have somebody to help them communicate and to teach them how to communicate when those price changes happen.
So the 25% net, that's actually where you start to see money accumulate and cash goes into an account where you can actually see that, right? So
Absolutely.
let's go over about the pricing, because I guess the next section is what do you build that profit? How do you get that profit higher? The first element is pricing, right? So tell us about one time I heard you say there's two kinds of contractors: those who are aware of a certain factor and other ones who are not. Can you tell us about those two different groups of contractors?
I'd say the first part is there's contractors that are aware of really what I think it comes down to, and I know you've taught me this too, that they have to have a certain amount per hour that they're charging. Some of these contractors that we do work with, they're just kind of in the dark and they think $125 an hour is going to cut it. And we both know that they've got to be at that level. The right contractor is at a minimum across the country, 300 to 350 per hour. And then there's the communicating and building that value for the rest of it.
Is there a reason why that? What's the difference? What's like the 125? There's like a whole bunch of people doing that, and a whole bunch of people do. What's the difference? What does the person know at the 350 or 400 or even 500 an hour? I see people at 600 in urban situations like downtown Boston or Los Angeles, where you got to park your truck and drive like a walk with a dolly for a block to get somewhere. That costs more money to do that, right?
Yeah.
So
they've got parking tickets built into that cost, right, Joe?
Exactly. One company in Boston has $8,000 in parking tickets built in. But what is the contractor who charges more aware of that the other one's not?
Number one, they're aware that they have to have a higher level of service, and that comes at having a higher cost. So you've got more skilled labor, you've got more access to people like ourselves for coaching and all those different things. And they know that they're not going to they've been in that situation of only getting 10% profit and the accountant saying, hey, you guys had a great year. And as the owner, you're looking at it and you're like, well, where is it? Right? And you're like, wait a minute. Once they realize that, then they increase to that 300 to 350 per hour, which covers the unapplied time, right? We've got drive time. We've got time that we're looking at, say we got to spend 10 minutes with the warehouse, figuring out where some of our systems are that we have to go pick up for repairs, or making sure inventory is there, right? There's always that unapplied time of things that we know have to happen on a daily basis, but we have to make sure we're charging appropriately for that to cover that. Otherwise, we are going to be at 10% profit at the end of the year.
So the people who are aware of the unapplied time has to be built into that hourly that the customer pays. So the customer pays for both applied time and unapplied time, because ultimately the customer pays for everything, right? Mike, would you
Correct.
agree that's true?
Correct.
So there's a group of people who are probably at over $350, $400. So, and then of course the ones who are charging 125 think the group that's charging 400 is crazy. Like they think, what are they? They're ripping people off for that kind of
How
thing.
could
But
you? How do you sleep at night?
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and then the guy who's got charging 400, like Tommy Mello says, it says, well, I got 401k, I've got people getting, a decent salary, I got people with transportation and medical insurance paid for their family. Do you do that? And how do you sleep at night? That's what he says. Both people said to the other
Right.
one, how do you sleep at night, right? And that's really true. There's a truth to both of them in a way. The one person never even thinks that the employee should get more. They think they're entitled and they don't want to pay people more. The other people are like, hey, it's going to cost more to get good people, and we need to charge enough money for that. I think that's the difference in the two groups. One is understanding that most of the time people are working, it's unapplied time. There's actually a very little bit of time that people actually turn a wrench, and you have to charge the overall cost for everything, right?
It's almost like 75-25.
Right. So that is interesting. So now, what another element of it, Mike, is that pricing has got to increase to make sure you do that. But then there's another element I think we see, which is the ability to have service memberships and warranty. That's a whole profit center of its own. Mike, can you talk a little bit about the impact of the service memberships and how one is designed, and how important is a service membership, and what's the elements that a service membership has that can impact the company greatly from a profitable standpoint?
Sure. I mean, with the service memberships and warranty that goes into all these different things, if we're not setting these things up properly, we're missing out on a 42% profit center right there. We're also hurting ourselves because if we're not allowing the opportunity to show this customer better service and give them prepaid maintenance and things that they can pay for it in today's price and have it for the next 3 to 5 years, we're also taking away an opportunity for a technician to go somewhere next year and the year after to generate more revenue and provide more service as well, right? So that in itself is a profit center that you should be able to see when it's set up properly with the coaching members we work with. They should see that on a weekly basis, that number is growing every week. Their memberships are growing, their account on that specific account, it's separated money. You take that money out each week, you put it in a separated account. And we have a secret method to be able to help companies figure out what that number is so that they can see that guaranteed growth every week.
So Mike, you say it's a 42% overall revenue, adding to the revenue of a company, which obviously did, but let's go back to that profit again. Is that 42% revenue at a low profit, or what kind of a profit do you make on that 42%?
You'd be surprised to know, Joe, it's actually close to 80%. 80% profit. Yep.
Mike, how many things in a business have 80% gross profit in it? Most companies would
I
say.
don't really know of too many of them.
So this is one of the secret sauce then, really, right? If you have
100%.
memberships, now here's the thing about it. I see people even having webinars out there like, hey, learn how to sell a membership, like one membership, right? Is one single membership going to do it, Mike? Is that going to be the answer to making 42? How's a $250 membership going to add 42% more revenue to my service?
Well, it's one step in the
right
right direction. I'll give them that. It's one step in the right direction, right? But
I
to
sold the
have one
membership.
is
Yay!
You should be looking at yourself and asking, like, I should have sold 2 or 3 today, minimum. If you're on
so each customer buys how much? So each customer buys how many years of membership, Mike? When we do it at Service MVP, when it comes to repairs, how many years of memberships and warranty do people buy when they get a repair done for most of the time they go out there and do this?
With the method that we use and the secret to the system that we put together on service, it's 3.5 years. The average customer is buying 3.5 years.
And 3.5 years of warranty. And then I think you said something about the tasks too, that you have to sell those, go back to that pricing per hour. That you have to have how many tasks do you have to have with that repair to make that actually come to life and make that more profitable?
It has to work along with that unapplied time that we talked about, Joe. It has to actually match. So if you've got 3 years of maintenance, 3 years of service, you can't have any less than 3 tasks in there or 3 service line items, right? It's got to be matching.
And so how many years of warranty can you give on repairs? Is it just unlimited? And what can you do on that?
We do up to 5. So we have a system that it's from 5 years on the top option all the way down to 1 year on the economy. And then we also we do the same thing for renovations, Joe. And on renovations, that actually has a 6.5 year.
Oh my
that
goodness.
the
So six and a
customers
half
are
years of
choosing.
membership. Now, is the price of
Correct.
that membership the same for repair? Is it the same membership, or is there a different one for replacement or repairs? Tell me about that.
It's different actually, Joe. We've got a secret method to that too. Everything we have is secret method around here. It's like ancient Chinese
Uh-huh.
secret,
I
right?
see what you're trying to do.
And
You're
it's all
enticing people,
designed
Mike,
based
aren't
on,
you?
yep, yeah, it's all designed based on your area, of course. But we have to make sure that it's set up properly. And again, so going back to the technicians and the comfort advisors in the field, garage door techs, whoever it is, they have to be able to have and see value in it too. So they have to communicate that value. So we have to find those numbers. But once it's done properly, like I said, it's that, you've got 80% profit and it's a 42% profit center that people are missing each and every day of the week.
Hmm. That's amazing. So when you look at this though, like if, let's say you had, let's just give us an idea of the number. If you had like somebody, yeah, it says they had 3 service techs and like 1 sales guy. Let's say the sales guy sells 3 jobs at around, I don't know, even 12,000 or something like that. I'm just being conservative. So 36,000 there in sales, and you're saying these memberships would be about 6 years at 250 each. So I mean, how much money do you think we're looking at that a company would, that if you had a small company with 1 sales guy and maybe 3 service techs, how much money would that accumulate if they were to do multiple year warranties and service at 80% gross profit, and also made sure that the prices were up to that, par that needs to be at that 350 or higher? What's the average amount that would go into an account to keep the sustainable profit alive? What would you say about that? How much money do you think that
I
it
would
would
say if
accumulate
you've
there?
got a comfort advisor that's out there selling, 30,000, 36,000 a day, I'm going to say of that 36,000, 6,000 of that a day is going to be towards service and warranty for that
Mhm.
renovation of that system.
And then you got for the what do you call it? The service techs, the add on to that, you're going to be so probably every day you're looking at, it could be over $10,000 a day or something like that by the time you're done with
Correct.
this. So
Correct. Yeah.
you're saying in a week's time, am I carrying this right? In a week's time, it's possible to see people at that. I mean, let's just be conservative, 20,000 a week in just memberships and warranties and stuff like that. Is that what you're telling
Absolutely.
me?
Yeah. When it's set up properly and it's used and the message is conveyed properly to the customer, I think, Joe, a decent sized company shouldn't be any less than 20,000 a week.
Hmm. And so every week it's growing by 20,000, you're saying, or
Yep.
15 some weeks, 12, but it is growing every week, whether it's 12,000 or 30,000. You can see that. And Mike, that's a heck of a KPI to look at, right? I mean, is that something that if you're an owner, what does it tell you when that account is growing? And what does it tell you when the account is flat and not growing? What does that tell you when you watch that account?
Well, it's growing when you're there. The question is it growing when you're on vacation, right? And it tells a business owner that, oh my gosh, this is what I was missing for so long, and it's mind blowing to them. They see that and they're like, I can't believe for so long that I was so closed minded to even offer something like this to my clients. When they're gone and on vacation, this is what I look at for the KPI. Did it grow? Did it not grow? If it didn't grow, then the team's not offering it, right? The
So
team went back to path of least resistance.
so if it's not growing, the team is dropped off and they are not using the operation system that you planned on. They're doing their own thing right now. They're doing their thing. Mike, have you seen that before, where the technicians in the field run the owner, like tails wagging the dog? Mike, you ever? I mean, right now you're laughing, but it's actually a sad case, isn't
It
it?
is a sad situation, and unfortunately, it does happen too often, right? And like I said, once a owner realizes, like, oh my gosh, they're controlling me. That's why we're not having profit. That's why we're not having scalable growth, because I'm allowing them to dictate my belief.
Hmm.
And
So
once they realize to do it the other way, it's a game changing, life changing situation.
wow, that is it's great content, Mike. So so what can people do to is there some kind of a thing that the average contractor, I mean, we don't have to join Service MVP, obviously.
Mhm.
That's a large investment in your company, but I think it's an investment that is profitable. Um, I think I was talking about doing a thing called the a pricing profit meeting, and do a pricing profit webinar where you and I would go on and we'd say, let's take 2 hours and let's go over the lessons that people could do on it. Mike, would you be willing to go public with me on this and
Always.
let the average person know about this kind of all those little secrets you mentioned? You dropped those little secrets there, where we would reveal those secrets, Mike. Would you be willing to reveal the secrets, and people could have a recording of that and be able to change their company for the good? What do you think on that before summertime?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Joe. I would love to do that, because everything that I've learned from you and Service MVP over the years has been a huge, massive gift to myself and my family to get me to where I'm at. And I'm always more than happy to take the time to help somebody else have that same opportunity and see where those gaps are, how we can help them fill those gaps and get them to the goals they really have.
Well, you heard it here first. Mike Busher and I are going to do a webinar that's going to be a 2-hour paid webinar for $297. You can have you and your financial team or your leaders come on this meeting, and we will talk about how to go over those 4 pillars of profit and how we can make sure that we are aware of those costs that are going to take away from our profit, how we can change the prices and transition to a higher price and communicate better so we can make that price increase a reality. And number 3, how can we connect the warranty and the service memberships to the repairs and to the replacement to create a 42% profit center at an 80% gross profit. Mike, I tell you what, you're getting excited just making me just hearing this. And
It's crazy,
Mike,
isn't it?
Isn't it? It is. I want as many people. I want to see. Let's see if we can get 100 people who are wanting to learn how to make their companies better and more profitable this summer. Because you know what the crime is, Mike? People working hard but not making profit, working hard and not getting that pay increase. What do you think of that, Mike?
Absolutely. It's and nobody likes to see that. I know as business owners that I talk to them, I hear their frustration when they've been trying for years and years. And it's it hurts, to hear that they're going through that. And then once they have that aha moment, you see the light bulb go on, you see and then you I continue to talk to them, months and months into the process, and they see a complete change in their demeanor. They're happy about their business, they're excited, and it's a great thing to watch. But there's always that first step you got to take, and that's just figuring out what can I do, where's the gap, and how can I fix it.
So everybody, look for this next announcement. It's going to be called Pricing for Profit with Mike Busher and Joe Crisara. We're going to spend 2 hours on a webinar. The investment will be $297. The idea would be in the first day, you get that money back, right, Mike? I mean, I can guarantee
100%.
people actually, if you apply the material we're going to talk about in the first, probably within 3 hours, you'd make that money back. And then, you keep making more money. And then hopefully you can remember that the best to give us a tip, just join us and we can help you grow that further. We can help you actually implement this with your team. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you here. Any final thoughts before you leave, Mike?
Really only, Joe, is just biggest thing is mindset for all the business owners out there. Just have the open mindset to even take a look at this. It may not be for you, but I guarantee you're going to walk away learning something from it that's going to benefit your business in this 2-hour class. And if at the end of it you don't, hey, we're still going to be friends, and you still have our unconditional love, right, Joe?
Exactly. You all got my friendship no matter how long you live. And don't worry, you're never gonna lose my friendship no matter what. Even if you don't come to it, that's okay. The people who do come though can then tell us what they got out of it. And I hope as many people as we can. Thanks everybody for being here. Mike, thank you so much. Everybody have a great one. It's been a great time. We'll see you on the next Service MVP podcast, everybody. Goodbye.
Appreciate it, Joe.